Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Drive. Today we have a very special car, a modern classic, and it is called the BMW M3 E92 Coupe from 2009, which means it's a LCE version, facelift. So before we start talking about the car, I need you all to subscribe to the YouTube channel, go to Instagram, follow us there, go to TikTok, follow us there, make sure to support us. And now let's go on with the review. So the M3 is a very important car for the European car culture because we call this car a German muscle car. It has a V8 engine. Plus, it is one of the most beautiful BMW coupes ever created, and it is going to be a future classic. The one and only M3 that ever had an V8 engine built in it. So this engine is called the S65, and it is a V8 engine, 4-liter. It is the smaller brother of the S85, which was a V10 engine they built in the M5 and M6. This one is capable of producing 420 horsepower and only 400 Newton meters of torque. Let's talk about the design of this M3 Coupe, because I think it is one of the prettiest M3s ever built, and in general, one of the prettiest BMWs ever. So what I like most in the front is those wonderful headlights looking like a woman's eye, this big wonderful bonnet with the power dome that I really miss on the new models. I mean, this is what an M3 is about. When you're sitting inside and you look at the road and you see this power dome, it is so mighty, so wonderful. Then you have those incredible nice looking air openings in the front splitter. Looks magnificent. I have to tell you, I really love this car. Those normal looking, and I'm saying normal because now they're over proportion, those very nice looking kidneys, BMW kidneys, look how nice they are, where the air gets channeled and gets into the engine. You come to the side of the car to see my favorite wheel set on a BMW M3. Those competition rims, I mean, they are so sexy, and it fits so nicely with the color combination. This white color, the black mirrors, the silver looking wheel. It is so nice, so nicely made. This reminds me, actually, the M3 badge on the side reminds me a little bit of my Aston Martin, so that is a nice detail. Coming here, you have this splitter on the bottom part of the door, making it a little bit more wide, just a little bit bodybuildish. Then those white hips. This is one of the most beautiful rear ends you're gonna see on a car ever. Those taillights look wonderful. The little spoiler lip, nothing too much. 4 exhaust pipes here. They are a little bit, let's say, in disguise because of this big carbon part here that the owner put in, but otherwise you would see silver exhaust pipes wonderfully blending in with the rear end of the car. So this is really the most beautiful BMW in my opinion, still to this day. And of course, lowering the center of gravity, carbon fiber roof. And let me tell you, it looks, even by today's standard, absolutely wonderful. Let's look at the interior and then take it for a ride. Welcome to the cleanest interior in the BMW ever. So when I first sat into this car, I noticed one thing. I had an E90 before, so I know the car pretty well. But there is one thing that I really love about these BMWs, and it is the steering wheel. The leather on the steering wheel is like pillows you're resting on. It is so nice to drive this car and really rest your hand on the steering wheel. Drive like this with the knuckles on the top part, drive fast. It is such a nice steering wheel, and I really miss this steering wheel design because it looks very nice to my eyes. Then you have this analog tacho, which the speedometer, which goes from the left side to 330 and the right side revs to 8,250. So it will be capable of revving 8,400 RPMs. Other than that, the only thing you have is your fuel gauge and how much oil temperature your car has, and this is everything you need to know. I miss those days where the speedometer was only about the driver and just basic information, you didn't get distracted. Then you had those wonderful waves here, which I think to this day is a very nice looking design. two cup holders integrated in the middle part of the car, and then this very nice and basic control system of your climate and your radio controls. And that's it. Here, leather parts, armrest is of leather, wonderful big Napa leather seats, and this little gear knob, which to this day reminds me of my childhood dream cars, and I think looks very nice. So let's start it up. Now it becomes red and looks, I mean, this is everything you would do. Put it in drive, neutral, and then reverse. That's it. So let's leave it in neutral. E-brake is on. So you notice you have three buttons: power, EDC, and something that says off. So power means if you drive without power mode, you don't have those 420 horsepower. I'm not sure how much horsepower they give you, but I would guess a 350. Press the power button, 420. EDC is the suspension mode. So you have one setting, is the first one, that would harden the suspension to a sporty setting, and the second one is for racing, for track. And then off, DSC off, the one and only magic button, standard on every BMW. You can turn off the DSC completely. And then you have this little knob here, this little button that says down and up, and this is for the aggressive shifting of the transmission. So if you put it into the lowest position here, into the lowest setting, it would shift pretty still fast because it's a double clutch system, but not as fast as when you put it into the highest possible level. So you're gonna see that while we're driving. Other than that, wonderfully clean, black roof, which I like a lot, wonderful door panels, leather parts, as I told you. And then let's look at it from behind, because the design there is also very nicely made. Welcome to the rear of the BMW M3 Coupe. So as you can see, I'm sitting quite comfortably, even for longer trips, because it is very spacious in here. You have those couch-like seats where you could chill out with a girl. Just put your arm over her and then start making out with her, no problem. And you have very nice gadgets like this, for example, to put your phone in. Look this, just close it, no wireless charging back then. Then you have those oddly positioned cup holders, which I really do not understand how they should work. Let's close them down. An ashtray, of course, and your climate vents. And everything is kind of integrated in this wonderful piece here that goes from here to there, and it's just aligns to my eye, very nice. Everything is wonderfully proportioned. So this is approximately the same size like this, and in the middle also the same size like this. It's time to take this M3 E92 Coupe for a drive. It is absolutely wonderful. It is in such a good condition. It only has 62,000 kilometers. Such a pearl of a car, really. And I can tell you, this instantly makes more fun than the new M3 competition I drove. The downshifts are absolutely insane. Listen to this. Next gear. And let me tell you something about this car. It is cultural. Let me open the window for you because we have some waltz. Car people are absolutely in love with it. Listen to those downshifts. The M3 is a car that is good in everything it does. You can go to work with it, you can travel with it long distances. It is so nice to drive. It is very sporty, it is very fast, it's great around corners, it's great for a weekend drive. I mean, look at this now. Second gear, turn in, hold the throttle nicely, let the car work, accelerate out. This is one of the last BMW experience, the thing that they called a BMW driving pleasure, the driving experience. This is the last car, that is, this and the M4 are the last cars that are giving you exactly what you wished for when you bought a BMW. The M3 E92 Coupe is such an important role for every car guy because it gives you a classic V8 experience, high revving, revs up to 8,250 RPMs. It is a transaxle car, so engine in the front, transmission in the back, and it's so easy and good to drive. It is really easy. Of course, when you turn off the DSC and you want to drive a little bit faster, you want to drift around corners, you can do that. But if you want to drive normal like this, you just get out of EDC mode. Those are the electronic damping control. Get out of power mode, put the car into drive, and now it's the most relaxing drive ever. But if you want it to be a beast, press the power button, EDC 1, EDC 2, hardest suspension, go into manual mode, and now you can even choose how fast you want it to shift. This is a double clutch system, so I'm going to put it into the highest possible shift rate. So in comparison to the new BMWs M3, M4, of course it's not as fast. Of course, it's a V8 naturally aspirated engine. It has 420 horsepower and only 400 Newton meters of torque. It is in such a wonderful condition, 62,000 kilometers. When I saw it, I just wanted to buy it. I told the owner, if he's ever going to sell it, holla at me, bro. I need it. I need it. This is a part of a culture, of the M3 culture, and it's going to be a future classic. This one is the only M3 that ever had a V8, ever. So that's what makes it special to me. And I know it's not the fastest V8, okay? I know it's not the fastest car, but it is so wonderful. It's such an emotional drive. So it accelerates from 0 to 100 in 4.6 seconds because we have a double clutch system. It is capable of doing 280 kilometers an hour or 250 kilometers an hour, both limited by BMW. If you opened it up, it would do a 300, I think. It has 1,650 kilos approximately, and it is wonderful. And that's everything you need to know. It doesn't lose any value. If you buy one of these in a very top condition, it's only gonna rise or stay the same. It is wonderful to drive. It is a little bit, it's not fuel efficient. It consumes pretty much fuel, I have to admit, for the power it produces. I mean, we're looking at 13, 14 liters, 12 liters when you drive normally on the Autobahn. So they had some problems when the car first came out. They had problems with the carbon fiber roof. Some models leaked a little bit, and some other models had a yellowing problem. So the roof was yellowing, it started cracking. It wasn't really good built, but they fixed that in the facelift. And then what they also had was, you know, the nice engine, the high revving S65 engine, had some rod bearing problems. So you had to replace those at 110,000 kilometers, and if you didn't, you would have suffered a major engine failure. So you would get into limp mode and you would have to go to the dealer and all of that stuff. And another problem was some of those cars, they started to overheat a little bit. So those are things that you can fix. Those are things that are somewhat not that expensive. Of course, the rod bearings are a little expensive, but other than that, it's a very good car, really. Of course, it uses a lot of fuel, but then any other thing than that, some cars had a little bit troubles with the differential, also leaking, but the facelift models from 2009 are absolutely top shots. If you want one, buy one from 2009. If you get a manual gear shift, I dare you to take a DKG, Doppelkupplungsgetriebe, when you have a manual gear shift to drive. This car would be so much better with a manual gear shift, I swear to God. Although I have to say, listen to the shifts. I'm in 7th gear now. I'm gonna shift down 4 gears, 5 gears if I can. Listen to that. Second gear, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. Instant. Tack, 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 tack. Every gear goes in. Toof, 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 toof. Very smooth. Why did you change it to a ZF automatic? It's not a bad system. I'm telling you. I drove the car. There's a review on it if you're interested. I drove it, but this is so much more impressive. Listen to that. Third gear.